Hello, everybody. Talmar Anderson from BossActions, and I'm here to wish you a happy National Boss Day. Whoo, we made it. It's another year down. We're stepping into that boss role, and we're working with our teams and all the hiring that challenges that are coming, that some are new and some are not. And we're trying the best we can to learn all the habits, the best practices, and the actionable insights that we can do to step into that boss role with a team that is kick ass and that lets our business scale on purpose. Yeah, that's the dream. That's why we brought you Rock Your Bossitude. That's why BossActions is so dedicated to this. And I hear from a lot of you that you worry that it's hard to be a boss, or that maybe you are worried you can't fully step into that role. So today, what I'm doing, instead of an interview, I'm going to share with you the top 5 characteristics, according to employees, that a great boss demonstrates. And I want you to listen carefully, because I think you're going to be surprised at how much you already have this capacity. Heck, you may even already be doing it and rocking that boss role yourself. So let's get into it. What are the top 5 characteristics that employees are naming when they think of the best boss they ever had? I think you might have noticed that's a theme. That's where we love to start. Let's talk about the good things, the things that really influenced how we start as a boss in our interview series. And if you haven't, you can go back, rockyourbossitude.com. All of the interviews are posted right there so that you can get in. They're all nice short snippets, like 10 to 14 minutes each, so that you can go through and get a little insight in what others have done and what they're identifying as success things, lessons to not do, and how they're really thriving in their own boss roles now, because they're business owners that really turn to that CEO role. Takes a little time, definitely takes insight, and we're going to try to share that as much as we can. All right, back to today's topic. 5 characteristics of a kick-ass boss, a great boss, an amazing boss, the kind of boss that you know, or you might worry, that is the right boss to scale your business. All right, so the 5th thing, the 5th most popular, we're going to count backwards. So the 5th thing is that they want a boss that is great at listening. Yeah. And it's not just, I heard what you said. Now let's get to my thing. But they want to really feel heard. They want to know that when you've said something or you've come to them, you've really taken it to heart and put it into something that you've considered. When an employee feels listened to, they feel connected to that boss. And therefore, they're much more likely to perform, create loyalty, and tenure. Yeah, those are the reasons we want to be a great boss. We want them to be connected to our mission. We want loyalty, that they want to stay with us and they like being representatives of our company. And we really want to try to extend that tenure, even though predominantly tenure is about 18 to 36 months throughout the country right now. Yeah, I know. That's why it's so important that we hire right, but that's not about today. All right. So number 5 was listening. So what's number 4? The 4th boss characteristic, that is supportive. They want to feel like you have their back, right? They want to know that if they come to you and they say that a client is not handling the situation well, or worse, stepping over some lines, that you've got their back. They also want to know that no matter what, you're going to be willing to listen and care for them as a team member, right? That supportive means, do you care about them as a human? Because if you care about them as a human and what they're concerned about, they will have the capacity to reciprocate that and care about growing your business in the way that they've committed to. Are you following? So we have listening, we have supportive, and now we're at characteristic number 3. Characteristic number 3 is hands-on. And no, that doesn't mean you have to do everything that they do. Lord knows my marketing people don't want me doing all the things that they're doing. I want to be around, and they would want to know that if something came down the wire and our brochures came in late, that I would sit on the floor with everybody else and help put them together. They just want to know that you're willing to do the work, that you have respect for it, that you feel their pain, and that when they are stuck, you are going to be hands-on, available, accessible, and doing everything you can, and more importantly, everything you're asking them to do to solve these problems. Again, it's not that we have to do exactly what they're doing, exactly when they do it. They just want to know that you would be willing to, and that is a tenement to what you are trying. Maybe that's a tenet, that you're trying to be a person that is available and willing to work on it, from sweeping the floors all the way up to shaking other presidents' hands, right? That's really what we're talking about. So these aren't so unusual or surprising, right? Listening, supportive, hands-on. We can see that in some of the bosses we've had. And we can see where that's something that we probably already have, that connection to doing whatever it takes for our business, and that idea that we want to hear what they have to say so that we can resolve issues. And certainly the idea that we care about them. That's why so many people are anxious about that boss role. They care, and they want to create an environment that is really good for their team members. But I'm telling you, if you just inhabit these 5 characteristics, you are a long way down that path of really attracting and working with the team the way that they can be successful, and the way that you will all enjoy each other. All right, the last 2, right? So we've gone through listening, supportive, hands-on. Number 2 reason that somebody thinks you're a great boss is if you are inspiring. Now, inspiring can be a really heavy word for some of you bosses out there. And I don't want you to feel like we have to be up there and evangelical all the time, but they do want a couple of things from you. They want to believe that you have passion for what you're doing, and that you have the things that you're telling them are your core values, the things that you really want them to embody. They want to believe that you are so excited, and there's a great reason. They want to connect to that idea. They want to be inspired to connect to the business in the way that we're asking. But more importantly, when you really dig into the inspiring, the part that the stories that bosses will tell you, or employees will tell you about bosses, is they're inspired by the fact that a boss either set really high standards and the example of that high standard, right? They might have held them accountable at a higher level than the employee believed possible, but the boss was always there, or harder on themselves, right? Pushing themselves more and trying to be more involved. So that really inspired them. Like, okay, well, at least they're walking their talk. We talk about that a lot in BossActions. Walk the talk, make a rule, but represent it. But the inspiring thing that really connects with somebody is when you take that time, either in your one-to-ones or your one-to-one connections, and however you do them in your company and your management, you take the time to see in them. You're encouraging. You maybe see something that they don't even see, and you help bring that to the forefront, and you inspire them to go further in a way that develops their career, their personal life, their profession, right? When they hear that a boss can see in them sometimes things that they didn't even see themselves, it can really inspire them to go further and bigger as the human they can be. That's pretty significant. And a lot of times when I'm interviewing people about the best bosses they've ever had, that's a huge one. Oh, I had a boss that saw something in me that I didn't know was there, and I really embraced it, and it changed my trajectory. So inspiring sounds big, but really it's paying attention to that team member, giving them your real presence of mind, and observing what you think and what you admire in them. It's not as hard as you think to be inspiring. And it's certainly a great opportunity to let people know what you think they're especially good at. You know what? When we point the good things out, they have a tendency to repeat them. So these are things that you do, or you could do more of, to make sure that you're growing and inspiring your team. All right, it's time for number 1, right? Do you have a guess of what it is? This is the one that I will admit, if there's a boss that's kind of creating some sticky wickets for themselves in their business, this is probably the one. So we have the 5th characteristic was listening. The 4th characteristic was supportive. The 3rd characteristic was hands-on. The 2nd characteristic was inspiring. And the number 1 characteristic that really makes an employee feel like they have a great boss: accessibility. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to, answer their texts all day, every day. That's a boundary issue, and that's a communication issue that you can work on with your team. But Accessibility really means that you are creating opportunities and a presence of mind and a true understanding in your team that when they are stuck, when they have an issue, or when they want to come to you to ask for clarity, that accessibility is there. They want to know that you're willing to collaborate and problem solve. Now, this is one that can be hard for people because they think they have an open door policy. I will tell you, open door policy is not the same thing as accessible, because open door policy means an employee has to stop what they're doing, walk into the boss, interrupt them, and tell them, hey, there's a part of my job that I can't do. Open door policy is about developing trust over time, but we do that they trust that they can come in and tell us they have a problem and interrupt us by demonstrating accessibility, oftentimes in our one-to-ones or other different types of best practices you can have in your company that lets them know that they can tell you when they have a problem. You're going to be there to help redirect them or problem solve or collaborate on some ideas on how they can continue forward. Then that trust develops and the open door policy actually becomes a thing. There's a few steps there. So that's one that gets a little harder. We think that if we tell them, they're going to believe it. But if they haven't had a chance to really practice and come in and have conversation with you about something that's challenging, that can be one where they feel, the boss feels like they're being available, but the employee is like, well, I don't know. They seem awfully busy. I don't want to interrupt them. Right? How many of you heard that? Oh, I didn't, you'll ask, why didn't you tell me about this problem? Well, you seemed really busy. And it's not fair because we are busy 100%, but there are different best practices and systems that you can put into your company that will, and your own habit, your own calendar and your team's calendar, your leadership team's calendar, that will ensure that these people understand that no matter what, they do have somebody they can go to, a boss that they can access and really feel supported, right? That's what it's about. These simple 5 things, right? None of them were about money. Not one of them was about money. None of them were about, somebody being, overly nice and going out and fraternizing with them in the evening hours or any of these things that can create complications. It wasn't about the 900 benefits. And yes, that is something that's harder for small business to compete against. But I want you to really understand how we approach being a boss, how we use our hiring and management processes in conjunction with these 5 simple characteristics. It will open your business up because you will be able to retain and you will be able to attract the kind of people that you want to work with. Being a boss is not a bad thing. It's not like you have to be a mean ogre. You can be asking them to be accountable and still be supportive of how they are and who they are as a human. It's not rocket science. It's a process you need to learn. And certainly that's something that you can work on. But just know it's not as hard as you think. It's just about knowing how to be in front of them, to create the opportunity to share these characteristics with them. Then they're going to be connected to you and your mission and the company. And that's when it gets beautiful. That's when tenure and loyalty get longer and stronger. It's true. This is the way you can affect your team. And on National Boss Day, in a day when I know that you're hopefully taking the day off because it's a Sunday and I want you to be out playing, but I want you to understand you're doing great. It is something that you can continually improve in. And I don't care what stage your business is at. If you're just starting out or if you're 25 years into it, we can always be improving in the way that we show up and lead our teams, the way that we support them. So how can you support them so that they can truly build that thriving business that you want? I do have 2 quick announcements if you have 2 more seconds. One, if you've enjoyed the Rock Your Bossitude interview series, I'm just saying there might be a podcast dropping by the end of this year called Rock Your Bossitude, Conversations with Business Owners Turned CEO. And I would love for you to check it out. I promise if you're on our mailing list, you're going to know about it and we'll keep you in the loop of when that starts. I'm very excited about it. So that's one. This was our little initiation for you all to get an idea. There'll be longer conversations because we have a lot to share when it comes to running our teams and building our teams and just even the past bosses we've had, because there's lessons we can learn in looking back, both as an employee and as a business owner. But the second thing, of course, I do want to help those that are still looking. We do have a special National Boss Day offer. If you go to rockyourbossitude.com, you can find out all the information. And I just want you to understand, this is the lowest price we've ever offered, Bossification. That's our signature program. It's an on-demand version. If you have any questions, go check it out. You can email me. It's only available until Wednesday at midnight, this special offer, lowest price ever. So if you're interested, please check it out. But regardless, I just want you to know, I see you trying hard to build the team and get the right people on and do for them so that they can grow the company, and every now and then take a day off and enjoy. I see you, boss. Keep up the great work. Boss on.